All right, boys. Welcome back. We are in let me reset all this. We are back with week 5 recap. Thanks for taking care of business for me while I was gone. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, let's just hop right into it. I watched all these back, got a couple thoughts on a couple of these. Going into this week, I think I only talked to Tyler a little bit about what he was thinking about bringing this week. Yeah. I was off the grid, so like everybody did their own thing. It was really cool. So we'll just hop into Joe and Dodge here. You see, I joined and left right there. I tried to hop in right as the game started, but my connection was dog doo-doo, and it kicked me immediately. Yeah, these first couple turns, yeah, let's just back up here. Okay. I get, like, Dodge not maybe understanding it was spect or whatever, but as soon as Pangoro dies in one hit and I don't see any Life Orb recoil here, I'm not going to go into something that can also die immediately to a Thunderbolt. I'm sure he didn't run the calc on it. I would hope he didn't run the calc on it, at least. But having the calculator open during game is super useful. That way you don't end up throwing away a Pokemon that could potentially deal with a lot of this team. Regieleki. Okay, so Dodge's team is super weak to electric in general. Just looking at the comp right here, he didn't bring Venusaur or was it Virizion? So Aleki's just going to have a field day, especially if he can break Dragonite's multiscale. Yeah. So right here, if I'm Dodge, I'm going straight Dragonite or Diancie just to have, you know, something to be able to put damage down on Aleki and get it out. But overall, like, you know, Aleki's just going to run through Dodge's team, so it ends up getting 2 straight kills here. I think it gets 3 here. Good chip with Earth Power. Diancie's so good, I wish I got it in the draft. But yeah, see, he switches out at Dragonite. And the funny thing is, he switched out probably expecting an extreme speed, and he didn't even go for it. He went for the dual wing beat, which is... If he missed that dual wing beat, and Joe went for the Thunderbolt, that would have just been a 6-0 off lead. Kind of like what Dodge did to E with the Aerodactyl lead that just like ran shop on him. So Dodge does get a little lucky here. He messed up his EVs and put one too many HP EVs in and made it an odd number. So when he belly drummed, it went down to 51% instead of 50%. At 50%, you'll eat your citrus berry. At 51%, you just feel betrayed and hurt and broken. But he gets bailed out with 2 hurricane misses. I don't know what the calc was. Hey, you know what? We're bringing this back this week. Hold on. Puff this bad boy up a little bit. Okay. Azumarill, belly drum. I think he ran like 248 on it. Is that an odd number? It is. Moltres, we'll just go offensive. Yeah. So Dodge got really lucky right here. Could have been a 6-0. But he now immediately has all of the momentum, and Joe does his absolute best to throw. So Joe knows that it didn't eat its citrus berry, right? It went to 51%. It didn't eat its citrus berry, so it has that sitting back there. So effectively, if you don't OHKO it from 71, it's going to have 76%. Or from 51, it's going to have 76% remaining health that it can use. So going Metagross here is actually a decent play. However, I would have tried to run the calc knowing that Azumarill at +6 versus a Metagross that Joe was running. Let me pull up the team paste real quick. Joe was running 84 defense. Oh yeah, Joe, by the way, I think Ralstberry is what, the burn berry? Just run Lumberry. Unless you were trying to get it paralyzed or frozen or put to sleep on purpose, but not burnt, just run Lumberry, L-U-M. It prevents any status one time. So I would have just ran Lumberry instead of Rossberry. Okay, so Metagross, Aqua Jet, bang. That's against not even the 84 defense that he had. Okay, boom. You know you can live an Adamant Huge Power Aqua Jet from Azumarill. This is the max damage it can possibly do to you. Bullet Punch does this much. Meteor Mash, if we remember, Azumarill was at 51% health. Meteor Mash had an 81% chance just to kill right there. But instead, you went for the Bullet Punch, which does 22 to 26. Even with a crit, would not kill from 51. So you allowed it to eat its... what's it called? You allowed it to eat its Citrus Berry. Now, Dodge also misplayed here and went for Aqua Jet, thinking he was slower than Metagross and wanted to get a hit off. But if Dodge ran that exact same count, he realizes Aqua Jet doesn't kill. Best case scenario for Dodge at this point, after losing all of those Pokemon to Regieleki, he just has to get Okos with the Azumarill. So if I was Dodge, I would have went for the Liquidation or the Waterfall, whichever water move you were running other than Aqua Jet. I would have went for that just to guarantee the one-hit KO, and then take whatever hit Metagross was running. Because generally Azumarill, especially with you running a really bulky one, is always going to be slower. So, yeah. Basically, Joe threw, then Matt threw, then on the next turn after Metagross's Dead Sea, that did 86. Okay, right here. 23% Azumarill. We'll play along at home. Which Pokemon should you go into? Well, Nihilego is going to get its absolute dick eaten. Regieleki is going to evaporate and not even be ready to play next week because it's going to get put on injured reserve from how hard that Aqua Jet will hit it. Mamoswine dies to an Aqua Jet as well. Not as bad as these two, but it's going to go down. Let's do this. Mamoswine, just do a standard one. Yeah, just a casual 211% to a... Let's see, he ran 164 HP on it. You know what? Let's just see if that changed anything. Closer. Closer. Okay. So, knowing it can Aqua Jet here, and he's running a relatively bulky Azu, I would like to see what my Tapu Fini would do. Let's go Calm Mind. That's a bold one that says defensive. He ran a modest 252. This is the most damage output you could possibly do with a Tapu Fini Moonblast. 41 to 48. And we're going to go back to the game. It's at 23 now after the whole Bullet Punch business. You just go Tapu Fini. 100%. You know you're faster. You see the Bullet Punch damage did 26. It's a pretty fat Azu. Immediately just go Tapu Fini and win the game. Worst case scenario, with you going Tapu Fini, he goes into Toxapex. But Azumarill no longer can Belly Drum, so Azumarill's just useless afterwards. Dragonite can't switch in. So now you just have Fini versus Toxapex. You have 3 amazing Toxapex answers sitting in the back that you can switch around with. So you just go Tapu Fini right here. Don't... the Mamoswine switch in to Ice Shard to do a nice 15%. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you were probably getting a little tilted. You were probably getting really nervous after the Belly Drum, and you're like, oh crap, Metagross went down. So I'm sure you weren't like thinking perfectly straight, but looking at just team comp in general, you brought Tapu Fini. I know it's offensive, but it will always be a switch in to Entei and always be a switch in to Azumarill. Right? Like, and even Pangoro can't really do anything to it. So don't be afraid just to switch into that defensive Pokemon that you know is going to be able to wall something. The Ice Shard doing 15% here just to go into Tapu Fini and take an Aqua Jet afterwards on this next turn. like didn't do anything. You just threw away your Mamoswine. Now you don't have an ice type to hit the Dragonite. And I'm saying all this just to be critical of like, if it did matter in the future, this is how you want to play it, right? Obviously it ended up working out for Joe. He has Nihilego, which is going to be able to take these last two just fine with the Psychic and Meteor Beam coverage. Really good play here. Just even if Toxapex stays in, what's it going to do to you? Scald you? It's not like a burn's going to matter. Plus then you boost yourself and you just Psychic in its face till it's dead. But you get the Dragonite on the switch with Meteor Beam, knock it out. GG, super easy. Yeah, super scary game on both ends. Like, I'm sure Dodge was just like, oh fuck, I'm dead. Off rip. And then halfway through the game, Joe's like, well, I just choked so hard. But yeah, so I mean, it was really entertaining. Really cool seeing Dodge bring Azumarill with Belly Drum finally. Been thinking that was going to be a massive threat this whole season, so good to see it make its debut. Wish I could see him use Entei just a little bit more. I think it's a really cool Pokemon. Kind of gets shafted with some coverage stuff, but like Banded E-Speed is always like super threatening. Could have been cool against Alecki as well this week. Let's see what his actual team was. Yeah, Banded. Yeah, just Banded E-Speed. I'm sure he was like, oh, I can just live in a Regieleki. Oh, I gotta put in a Reggie first. I'm sure he was just like, I can live Regieleki, Choice Specs. Entei. And what was it? Thunderbolt? Yeah, that's always a no-go. But yeah, that's why we have the calculator. Hopefully you guys like start utilizing that a little bit more. It's super valuable. Basically ensuring you don't throw something away, right? If your gut is telling you, oh, Entei can live a Lecky attack, I'm just going to go in and Stomping Tantrum it. Just double check. That way you don't lose an answer to it in the future. And, Entei matches up good against Metagross. Finny doesn't appreciate it after a while. Like, Finny doesn't have really good active recovery, meaning it can only get back recovery from, like, Draining Kiss and leftovers. So, chipping it down over time, Entei can definitely end up breaking through. Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about this game. Joe identified a weakness and really took advantage of it, and it was pretty well played. And plus, if those two Hurricanes don't miss, the score looks a lot different as well. All right, Tyler versus E. Tyler's the only person I talked to this week about what he was going to run. We talked about... Oh, yeah. So I ran a scrim against him. Dragapult was a goddamn demon. I was running like a mixed Choice Scarf set that was always going to be faster than Scarfed Keldeo and Scarfed Kartana. And Dragapult's like one of the best answers in the game to Keldeo. And E brought both Gyarados and Dragapult, so both of them can always just switch into Keldeo and not really deal with it, care about anything. I told Tyler that Icy Wind is probably a better bet on Keldeo as like a coverage move, since he's choicing it, especially since if Dragapult is Scarfed, you kind of regain some speed control, and then maybe Coco's faster in the future. Overall, I think E had a pretty big advantage with just team composition going into the game. Excadrill is such a solid Coco answer. It doesn't take a whole lot from U-turns. It doesn't take a whole lot from Dazzling Gleam. Obviously, is an electric immunity. It's just a solid Coco answer overall. And looking at E's team, Coco kind of puts in a lot of work, right? Like, Dragapult doesn't want to keep switching into it. Gyarados and Suicune don't like it. Mimikyu can obviously take one, but it's pretty frail overall. It doesn't want to keep taking Coco hits. Zapdos, later in the game, it ends up dying to it. So Drill is like a really good core piece here. And turn one kind of set the tone and let Excadrill just kind of like roam free with this Draco knocking out Thundurus. Life Orb Draco meter, just bam. Now the thing that is so important with that, E guarantees that he only has to use Drill as a switch into Coco, he doesn't have to use it as a switch into both Coco and Thunderous. And later in the game, you'll see it starts getting chipped and everything. It starts getting worn down, but it didn't have to take repeated attacks from both of them, and that's what allowed it to end up winning the game. This was I mean, if I'm E and I'm expecting him to switch out of Coco, like clearly he's going into Skarmory on Drill, I probably would have just doubled the Zapdos or Dragapult with some fire coverage. But I mean, he clearly going for the Rock Slide was calling, Skarmory's coming in. And yeah, it only did 16%, so not a whole lot. Pretty free rocks here for Tyler. Garchomp's always a good answer for Zapdos now that it can't learn HP Ice. Hidden Power Ice, that is. Suicune, what a great pickup this week for Paul. Get a nice bulky water on the team. It is a perfect Garchomp answer. Obviously has the ice coverage. Burns are going to definitely wear down Tyler's team as well. So yeah, we see it only does 12% with a Dazzling Gleam here, plus another 11 with U-Turn. Drill has the perfect typing to answer Coco. The Rocky Helmet did more damage than the actual moves. Skarmory clearly doesn't want to stay in on Dragapult. Really good play, switching out of Drill into Pult because it has good coverage. That was pretty big. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really mattered. Suicune was going to be the answer to Grimmsnarl, probably guaranteed all the time. I want to say the red card took him straight into it. No, it went into Zapdos first. Okay. I guess it gave Zapdos a little bit more freedom just to go for a move right there. If it wasn't burnt, maybe it would be a little more scared of a Darkest Lariat or a Sucker Punch or something. And it wasn't, but I mean, he kind of wasted the turn going for Discharge anyway into the ground type. So once again, didn't matter a whole lot. But Suicune is just perfectly built to deal with really these three Pokemon, Garchomp, Keldeo, and Grimmsnarl. When Tyler and I were scrimming, I was running double red card on E's team. I had like red card Espeon and red card Mimikyu. And he was running red card on Grimmsnarl, which was hilarious because it's such a niche item that never gets ran. And there were 3 of it in one game. So cool. So yeah, we're just kind of going through here. Really good pivoting, switching out. Tyler has a really good defensive core between Coco, Keldeo, Garchomp, and Skarmory. Let's see here. Yeah, Gyarados, it doesn't care. Just whatever. I think he goes for the DD here. Yeah, +1 Gyarados against these 4s, looking really intimidating. Really good call on Ezen bringing that. I feel like Darmanitan would have been pretty tough to deal with against on Tyler's side as well. Nothing really wants to eat a Flare Blitz. Yeah, Gyarados really putting in a ton of work for E's team overall this season. I mean, it's solid. It makes sense. But Drill just doing its thing, predicting the Skarm switch. Yep, we're just going to kind of wrap this one up here. I mean, right here, we got a 6-on-2, and Tyler did a good job of kind of swinging it around a little bit. He just still had no way to break through the Drill. There was just nothing he could do. He told me he went for the T-Bolt on that move because he couldn't risk Suicune staying in and getting damage off. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's just in hindsight, if you got that one Dazzling Gleam off right there, the next one probably kills, and then you probably win the game with Coco in the end. But that's the timer. Look at that. He's only got 30 seconds. He's just got to click buttons and go. Right there, I don't know why E switched out. Maybe he was actually... I don't know, maybe he was conditioning Tyler to go into Skarmory every time on Extra Drill, and he was like, okay, I'm going to catch Skarmory with the Zapdos. So I get that. That was a good play. It just, Tyler stayed in, probably timer-induced, but may have thrown the game if he just went for Earthquake right away. Could have been a 6-0. Would have been gnarly. Okay, so right here, E does his absolute best job to throw the game away. Goes for the Shadow Claw. Okay, a crit. If you guys don't know, a crit does 1.5 times whatever it normally would have done. So what's half of that? Or a third of that, really? What, 12, 13? Give or take, 12 and a half. So would have done anywhere in the 26-ish range. But you know that after you Swords Dance on this next turn, you do double damage. So you know that if that was in the, high mid-20s, if that was like a damage roll or something, let's say it was like 25. Well, after this Swords Dance, you know that a normal Shadow Claw times 2 is going to do 50% minimum. And you also see right here, this turn's super important, your Swords Dance went before his Iron Head. Always be mindful of what goes first on the field. Because of that, you never Shadow Sneak. Just go for the Shadow Claw. It's 100% accurate. You're already faster. If you went for the Shadow Claw right there, you kill Skarmory, and then Coco comes in, and then you just go either Dragapult or Excadrill, and then you win. So Mimikyu goes down. Good roost on his end. Dragapult comes in, claims the kill. What's Tyler going to do there, right? You can't switch into Coco. There we go. D-Gleam kills. And then Drill comes in. We know it only does up to the 12. Gets a really big roll with the 15 right there, but still has 6% left and wins with EQ. I mean, that was just a fantastic game. Like, extremely well played on both ends. I was really being nitpicky with like some of the bad plays. Like, I don't think Tyler made like any sort of bad switches. It was just like he had to play perfectly and call maybe a Suicune switch or Excadrill staying in and get that perfect for the entire game, because he was really at a disadvantage once Thundurus went down on turn 1. Yeah, I don't know. In hindsight, on Dragapult, turn 1, if I'm leading Thundurus into it, I'm probably switching into Grimmsnarl or Skarmory. Yeah, I mean, that's like the only thing I can think of. I wouldn't bank on Thundurus being able to live anything from it, unless you were counting on like physical Dragon Darts, but even then I feel like that might have killed. So, I don't know, looking overall at E's team, Skarmory doesn't put in a ton of work. Like, it's a decent answer to Gyarados, but can't really do anything back to it. It's a good answer to Excadrill, but once again, can't really do anything back to it. That's kind of just a stalemate, and you win with Roost. Good answer to Mimikyu overall, but you also have Grimmsnarl, and Grimmsnarl's a pretty solid answer. Yeah, so I probably would have went Skarmory. Yeah, I think that would have been my play. And then keeping Thundurus around just to make Excadrill just like put in extra work, I think would have been really huge there. But yeah, good game to both of them. It was really, really fun to watch back. Yeah, I wish I could have caught it live, but man, that was awesome. He's been a huge surprise this season. I mean, his prep speaks for itself. Like, he's taking care of business on the back end, and then obviously playing nice and tidy on when it comes to the game. But he's doing a lot of favors for himself, prepping as hard as he does. So yeah, great game, guys. Going on to the next one. Me versus Berg. I brought the Pink Boys, and unfortunately forgot to name them because I was playing off my phone without animations. Because my service was so bad that I played a random battle with animations and I couldn't get like 3 turns in before it like pooped itself. So I played this one without any calculations. I played this one with really basic spreads on everything. Like, I kind of mixed it. Like, I know my Clef spread. That's a pretty standard one. And then I just went like 252, 252 with pretty much everything except for Lele. I just kind of mixed and matched a couple HP and speed EVs. I didn't have the luxury of being able to do as much research as I wanted to this week. Just kind of threw it together and played off my phone. Berg brought a really well-built defensive team, And I was worried because I didn't bring any like legit wall breakers. Like nothing on my team could set up and just smack him other than Slurpuff. But what does like Slurpuff really do? He has Victini, he's got Rotom Heat, he's got Corviknight. Like Slurpuff was kind of a call in case he didn't bring like these three, or at least two of those three. It was just going to be something cheesy that I could spam if I came into like a worst case scenario. Tentacruel completely walls Slurpuff too. Like Slurpuff was just super useless. And looking at his team, he didn't bring a whole lot of fast stuff. And his fast stuff like Rotom, like is off the ground. So I brought Sticky Webs just in case on Slurpuff in case. I brought a pretty fat, slow team. Like my fastest is Starmie, which, looking at Berg's team, he only has a base 100 speed stat as his fastest Pokemon, and a modest Starmie with 252 speed EVs outspeeds Victini Jolly by 1 point. So I was able to run modest on Starmie this week, which was pretty cool, be able to hit really hard. Yeah, let's get into it. And look at that, Berg's trying to use the commands in the chat. Yeah, I brought a lot of fairies, so... yeah, good lead with Tentacruel. I probably should have predicted that after seeing he was like looking up something that was like fairy type. Probably should have just expected Corviknight or Tentacruel. I was bringing Wish Protect, Unaware Clefable this week in case he ran like a Belly Drum Charizard. And then also Teleport. I wanted to get some momentum going. And I was telling Berg, I actually was switching into Clefable and Tenta to try to get Scald Burnt. That way I couldn't get Toxiced by either Corviknight or Umbreon later in the game. And I ended up getting it on the first try, but I would have continued to try. Berg, I think, just wasn't aware that because I was burned, or didn't even notice I was burned, that... because I wasn't losing health, right? I had leftovers to counteract it. Oh, yeah, hold on, let me get back. So he ended up going for like a Toxic on Umbreon onto Clefable eventually, just because he didn't really realize that I was also burnt. I wasn't losing health because of the leftovers. So he goes into Corviknight, and I'm like, ooh, I'm teleporting out of here. I'm getting some momentum. Well, Pano and his infinite wisdom went straight into Starmie thinking I was running Thunderbolt on it. And your boy was running Ice Beam. And I am still not 100% sure why. I don't know, because I think Psyshock onto a Decidueye does more damage than an Ice Beam does. Well, let me just check that before I just talk out of my butt. Starmie, offensive, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt, and Psyshock. Let's do that. All right, so there, and then I'll just choose like a basic Decidueye. Okay, Ice Beam does a little bit more than Psyshock, so I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't know what I was thinking. I should have just thrown on the Thunderbolt, and that's what I thought I did. So I just went straight into Starmie. I'm like, I'm T-bolting his butt. Here we go, Life Orb T-bolt into Corviknight. Probably doing a whole lot. Actually, let me see how much that would do. This is my first time running calcs on this game, so like, I got no idea. Yeah, right. I was like, oh, I'm gonna smoke him, 2-hit KO. Let's go. And then I go in, I'm like, I don't have it, so I have to immediately double out. And maybe he was like, oh, he was being big brain. He was like expecting the Corviknight switch into like, I don't know, Sylveon or something. So he called the double with Aegislash. No, I was just retarded in team building. That's all. I think I double crit here with Shadow Ball. Yeah, I did. I didn't know that at the time because I didn't have animations on. So I thought my Shadow Ball was doing 43%. And that's why I stayed in so long to Shadow Ball it. I realized he wasn't really going to be able to do anything to me. He either had Iron Head or like Brave Bird. And, you know, Steel type, I wasn't really worried about that. So I stayed in Sword for me. Umbreon, always a great switch into Aegislash. He pressure stalled me a pretty good amount. I went all the way down to 15 Shadow Balls. Pretty cool. And what I was doing, I was fishing for a special defense drop with Shadow Ball. That way I could actually 2-hit KO it in the future. I knew he was pressured because of how much PP I was losing. And he wasn't mirror armor, and mirror armor, what that does is if Corviknight was to lose a stat, like it drops stats, then it like sends that back to whoever dropped their stats, and so like Aegislash's special defense would be dropping. Yeah, one attack, Moonblast, Clefable gets walled by pretty much his whole team. But it was good defensive, like, pivot and everything. I'm able to get back up to full here. I think I'm going into Aegislash here, yeah. Yeah, calling the Sludge Bomb. I'm not really worried about getting burnt with Agi. I don't want to. I thought he was actually going to switch into Umbreon there, because it's always a really good switch, so I just wanted to get some damage off on it. Going to Starmie, because now I really don't want to get burnt. And then Psyshock doing 61 here. I didn't realize this wasn't choice-locked Rotom. I thought that was like a really offensive spread for Rotom. And it ended up being Calm-Natured with 108. So, yeah, pretty... This is like my beautiful Rotom set. I love that thing. It's just such a sexy spread. So good. But yeah, I underestimated modest Psyshock from Starmie into that, and I was like, yo, that is choice scarfed. Get me the hell out of here. And then it confirmed it when it went for the Volt Switch, and I'm like, oh, that's 100% his choice Pokemon. Like, everything else in his team isn't choice. That's probably Heavy Duty Boots. That's probably choice scarfed. I'm feeling so confident that I've, like, figured out, like, his team comp and everything. And then he switches out. I'm like, yeah, you can't go for an electric move. So I go for the P-Jab here. I'm actually running Physical Nidoking this week. I thought that would be funny. It's got good coverage moves and everything. I wasn't running Thunder Punch though, so I couldn't really do a whole lot to Tenta. This was huge going for the Psyshock here and knocking it out. Looking at Berg's team, he doesn't really have a whole lot of good answers to Lele at this point. He's got a 49% Corv. I'm running Assault Vest, so I know I can switch moves. Berg doesn't though, and running like a Choice Specs or Scarf Lele is super common. So he ends up going into Corviknight, and I know, like, if people were watching this replay, they're like, no, Berg, you did it again. But I wouldn't consider this as big as a throw as, like, the other times that he kind of, like, sack Corv. This is, like, possibly more valuable as an information play. Yeah, now, yes, Corviknight is very useful, especially against Nidoking, against Slurpuff, against Clefable, and Aegislash. Like, it still has a lot of value in the game, and losing it is not great for Berg. But at this time, there's not really a way to know that I wasn't choice locked, and running choice specs on Lele is like super common. So and you know, right here it's like, okay, if he can only use Psyshock, I'm in a good position just to roost up and get some health back. So unfortunate, I was running Thunderbolt, Assault Vest Lele again, and I was able to knock out Corv. Here, I didn't realize this was choice banded. I was still hellbent that this was his choice Pokemon, or maybe he was running both, but I just thought Slurpuff was just so shitty defensively that it naturally took 77%. But no, he was running banded Victini, and this was me kind of testing that as well. I was like, okay, well, if he goes, I can throw Nidoking away against these guys. I have Aegislash to deal with Sylveon. I got Starmie. It's just going to nuke everything still. Clefable can Wish Protect and stall that with Moonblast. Like, I was feeling good without Nidoking, so right here I was like, okay, if he V-creates and knocks me out, like, it's not the end of the world. I just go into Starmie and just start clicking buttons. Or he switches out and I can kind of think that he's, like, choiced into something. So I get my rocks up here just in case, thinking Rotom was choice locked. I wanted to keep chipping it down, that way I couldn't just Volt Switch on my face. Clefable, great answer into that. There was the Toxic that I was talking about. Yeah, just either not noticing it was burned or not understanding you can't Toxic while they're burned, but not a terrible play. Here, this is like the first time Berg, I think, actually misplayed this game. And look at that, we're on turn 32. Like when I'm talking about progress in this league, this is what I'm talking about. Berg's played very, very well up to this point. At no point was there a play that was, like, so freaking questionable that, like, never made any sense or anything. Really, really solid play up to this point. Right here, he went for the Wish. I know he's running Protect. Yes, okay. Before I sound like an idiot. Just if I'm Berg here, I would just protect on the next turn, get the wish to land, and then go into Sylveon after. Now, he might not have totally understood the wish mechanics at this point, and was thinking maybe if I switch into Sylveon and then back to Umbreon, I would get it on that turn. So he ends up going Sylveon here. I'm a little relieved. I just throw up a wish myself, thinking he was going to protect. I just wanted to get that up so I could maybe heal up Lele or, do whatever. So I throw up a wish, I go into Aegislash. I know it's a good answer to Sylveon. Berg, unfortunately, was not running Pixelate, so it didn't do anything with Hyper Voice. Not that it would against Shield for me, but, it would have been nice to have a little chip. Oh yeah, Berg's nicknames this week they were fantastic. They were just wonderful. Look at that. The Doc Ock one was my favorite, but seeing other Weird Dog after Weird Dog, that made me laugh. And yeah, I was running Weakness Policy Aegislash, so I get nice little +2 attack boost. Ironhead's just gonna send that to the Shadow Realm. Let's see. Oh yeah, since he didn't wish and protect into Umbreon then, he ended up dying to an Ironhead when he switched in with Rocks damage. So right here he goes for Will-O-Wisp, and I'm still like, is he like Scarf Willow? My brain was so set that he was Choice Scarfed, and then he went for Thunderbolt, and I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. Cool, good to know. And here I just decide to sack Agi. He goes for the V-Create. I know he's slower, so even if he was Choice Scarfed, I can go into Starmie. I know I'm guaranteed faster at that point and knock it out. Great game to Berg. Once again, really well-built team. He brought a really defensive team that scared me because I didn't have anything to like break through it. I didn't have anything to set up, and thankfully I was able to get the Mystical Fire hit onto Aegislash to kind of give me enough stopping power to knock out Sylveon and then Rotom afterwards. But yeah, overall, really well played. I'm really, really happy to see Berg's progress through this. He's been playing really well. I don't know. Watch out. He comes in the playoffs. I don't know. Don't sleep. Don't sleep. 8 weeks in? It all clicks and he just makes a run. Just full Final Four style, Loyola Chicago. That'd be awesome. All right, last game. Okay, I'm kind of running long on this, but it's all right. I've been enjoying this. This is me finally catching up on the league. So, Tommy versus Matt. All right, well, we'll just go to turn one and see how that plays. I'm sure nothing bad could happen. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, God, it happened. Yeah, it happened. Boom Azelf came in and claimed Tommy's arguably most important piece. Yeah, now, I mean, just look at Ferrothorn against Tommy's team. The Ferrothorn just started, its eyes got super wide, started laughing. Volcarona was very important this match, and Tommy actually brought Damp Swampert. Look at that. For those of you at home, Damp Swampert means whenever Azelf clicks Explosion, if Swampert is in front of it, that move will fail. And I was screaming. I was riding on the bus home, and I was screaming inside of me. Switch Swampert in. Worst case scenario, it has like Psychic, Choice Spect, it 2 KOs you. Whatever. But then you can go into something else that might be able to pressure it out, like Snorlax, and go from there, but you keep Volcarona alive for the rest of these guys. Volcarona, Bug Buzz, Flamethrower, Psychic, Quiver Dance. Yeah, that thing was about to go stupid. But unfortunately, Matt, I mean, Loki won the game on turn one. Tommy did a good job pivoting around and trying to get some knockouts and everything, but he didn't have the same offensive pressure afterwards. There was nothing like Ferrothorn was scared of anymore that, it's already super fast, or fat, like with defense and special defense. There was just nothing that was going to threaten it. Tommy ran Brick Break on Heracross this week. Good idea for Klefki, kind of cool. And I don't know, with this Melodic being a 34%, I would just end up switching into Thunderous every time here. The worst case scenario, it's going to Ice Beam you, but if it Ice Beams you, it can't recover. So there's that. Wheezing is super important still. Drapion can't do crap to it. Blaziken can't do crap to it. Wheezing is super, super important here, and unfortunately Tommy tried to beat Melodic with it. I guess technically he ends up beating it, mostly with Wheezing, but yeah, losing Wheezing, man, that was like the nail in the coffin, and that was like so early on in the game. You know, Pain Split's cool, it can do its thing, but like so like when I'm playing my games, I like to analyze exactly like the most important things on my team that I have to keep alive no matter what, right? And so like looking at Matt's team, I know I have to keep Wheezing alive or else Blaziken wins. Based off of me already having toxic damage on Swampert. Swampert's not going to be able to take care of business from there. Like, yeah, I don't know. I would have, if I was in Tommy's position, I just would have went Thunderous a lot earlier on Melodic, just to at least get it out of there and maybe be able to play around, get some knockouts on some other stuff. But with Marvel Scale, with Recover, with it being so fucking fat, it just isn't able to die to all these physical hits. And so like Heracross just kind of threw itself away a little bit. But yeah, Ferrothorn, especially at this point, losing Heracross is just licking its chops. I know Tommy ran Fire Punch on Snorlax. That was a pretty good tech. For the Ferrothorn, probably. But, yeah. Tell you what, we weren't lying when we said in the draft that Matt just picked a bunch of demons. Like, he brings, like, the same team, essentially, every week, and it's just demons everywhere. Let's see. I think you get a crit right here with T-Bolt, and it dies to burn on the next turn. Yeah. Pretty fat. Pretty fat. It was pretty funny. Azelf got 1 kill, but it also killed itself, so it got 0. And then Melodic also killed Heracross and then killed itself with its Flame Orb. So both... Matt's currently at 0 kills on his team. So if you were looking at the scoreboard right now, if I was scoring it, right now it's Tommy 1, Matt 0 on just like total kills, which is really funny. Yeah, Flare Blitz kind of doesn't care at this point. Protect's a good call, get a little more toxic damage on, get it ticking. But like Ferrothorn is always going to come in on Swampert. There's nothing Swampert can do. Let's see. I think he Okos with Power Whip. Oh no. I think he gets the Gyro Ball kill eventually. And then Okos with Power Whip. Oh, he's knocking off. Is that what he's running? Yeah, only knockoff. I didn't even look at Matt's team this week. Whoa, was it Power Whip, Leech Lead, Stealth Rock? Yeah, he only had knockoff. Okay. So yeah, Ferrothorn just once again does not care. Tommy needed 1 million paralysis to have a chance. But yeah, Tommy at this point is just trying to get the differential down. Yep, Power Whip does 61, 100%. And then, yeah, the Xurkitree play, that's just a differential play at that point. Like, Wheezing doesn't have a whole lot of offensive power, so Xurkitree is going to be able to live anything. But yeah, that was a really good play turn 1 on Matt's end, having the balls just to click Explosion. And, I mean, dude, Volcarona would have put in so much work, so a little unfortunate we didn't see that switch into Swampert, but I mean, it's not like either of them played bad. Like, it was a really, really bad turn 1 on Tommy's end. Overall, in the scheme of, like, how much it did to him, it wasn't like he chose a bad move. It was, like, just it happened to be a really bad thing for his team that he went boom. So, yeah, overall, really happy with how this week went. Those games were really fun to watch back. Glad I had a whole stockpile of them to watch after I got back from my weekend. So, all right, boys, let's keep it going. Trade deadline is on Tuesday night, and yeah, waiver wire's open till the end of the season. We are in the home stretch now. 2 weeks till playoffs. Get your kills up with your top leaders. Get those wins. Get your seeding. Let's keep it rolling, boys. All right, catch you in the next one. Peace.